IVM.
Hi, everybody. On behalf of the team at IVM Podcast, I have a request for you. We'd really appreciate it if you could go to ivmpodcast.com/survey and fill out our survey over there. It's going to take a few minutes to do, but it gives us some really interesting information that we can take to advertisers and brands about who's listening to the network. If you're comfortable giving us your email address, while you're filling out the survey, we'll enter you into a random drawing where we'll be sending out a bunch of IVM swag to some of our listeners. Last year, we sent out coffee mugs, and this year, we're hoping to send out much cooler stuff. That's ivmpodcast.com/survey. We really appreciate your help.
Welcome to the next episode of This Round is on Me. My guest today is Vikram Bhatt, founder and director of Enrich Salons and Academy, a company that he started in 1997 along with two friends. This was a business born truly out of passion. It was a weekend venture that Vikram began while he continued to have a full-time day job as a finance professional. The brand has grown to have a presence in 6 cities with close to 100 salons and is backed by PE funding now. I know that Vikram is as comfortable discussing numbers as he is the season's trending hairstyles, but today I'm hoping to pick his brains more with the former. Hi Vikram, it's so great to have you on the show.
Hi everyone. So I would like to start first of all about the topic what you have selected, right? Where how to scale down the business or shut down the business. And initially felt I was a wrong choice because in last 2.5 decades of journey, almost 24 years, we have only opened salons, we have scaled up the business, we have added people, we have added business, everything has gone plus.
So today, actually, we're going to be, we've been talking a lot about, we always talk a lot about starting companies, about growing businesses, about, getting them funded, building the business, building a brand. We talk about ideas, innovations, passion. But one thing that we don't talk about as much, in my experience, is what happens when we have to let go of that passion or we have to possibly shut down part of our business. And, with the unprecedented times that we're faced with today, we are hearing news every day of organizations, having to file for bankruptcy or, look at possibly shutting down businesses. And this doesn't just apply to small businesses. This is happening, across the world, even with large companies. And I believe that, you, Vikram, have sort of been exploring the idea of shutting down some of these salons that you operate currently. And so, I sort of just wanted to hear your thoughts on this process that, entrepreneurs sometimes have to go through, which involves, reevaluating their business and possibly, bringing some of it to a close. So over to you. And if you could sort of share a bit more about, your journey so far and what's happening in the current scenario.
Okay. So as you introduced me, this was an accidental thing for me. It just happened with a set of friends. Started this sometime in 97, not thought that, we will scale it up and likewise, last 2.5 decades, almost for 15 years, till 2011, I was managing it as a part-time passion and was continuing with my professional journey. It was 2011 when I decided to opt in. On the topic, as you mentioned, as an entrepreneur, how do we prepare ourselves to scale down, shut down, take difficult calls? Maybe I'm a wrong choice and I'm learning. Why? Because in the last 25 years of journey, we have only added salons, we have only added businesses, we have added customers, we have added business
That's
partners,
amazing.
Locations, not even shut down a single outlet. In fact, have gone through situations where we wanted to move a business from a small outlet to a bigger outlet. Did that, but then thought even that earlier outlet can continue because it was still generating good amount of revenue. So even though we were supposed to take such calls, we have always believed in kind of going in, never give up. it worked then. Now coming to the situation today, if you see, it's a survival of fittest, right? And then business which are more adaptable, which are more flexible, will go through. Those who can learn and those who can bend maybe may not break, right? Uh, and then quite a few such things I'm trying to just internalize, because yes, we are also in the process of taking some harsh decision. And maybe I pick up an example. Pruning a plant, right? It will actually help us, because if you prune it, it can grow better and it can grow safe. So I look at it that view than anything else. And end of the day, we are in a situation where it's time to survive, and to also survive with the hope that there is a possibility to make it substantial. There is a possibility to grow it subsequently, right? The biggest unanswered question is that how long will it take, right? Now, reopening of stores, like we have reopened stores in Bangalore, in Gujarat, maybe very soon we'll do it in Maharashtra, which is Mumbai, and Pune, will be one step, right? So that will be just a first step in the comeback. But then we need to decide that, these outlets or the stores what we are operating, if they are going to be sustainable, they are going to be self, when you look at the unit dynamics, if they are likely to sustain, then only it makes sense for us to continue with them.
Right. And that's the challenge, right? That how do you actually know this with no information about what the future holds for us?
Yes. And looks like it's a fine balance of head and heart. If we think and continue, and then most entrepreneurs, I feel, are have a very strong conviction, and more often than not, we more from a hard side, right?
Yeah, and I think we're optimistic by nature, right? So you want to look for the best, you want to look for what's going to work. You don't want to look for what isn't. So yeah.
So in that situation, if we work only through heart, we may suffer. But if we try to be too practical and we apply too much of brain and then do exercise, maybe we'll suffer more. So we need to ensure that we are balancing both the acts.
So that's the big question, right? That's the $1 million question, is that how do you find that balance? And I know we're both in a similar situation, in that, like you mentioned earlier, that flexibility is limited in our case because we are both sort of in retail businesses to some extent. I mean, us with F&B and yours with the salon, where it cannot be done from home. You can't work from home. So, once you feel that you're moving towards reality that requires you to possibly prune some of the business, using your analogy, how do you make that decision? You have 87 outlets at the moment. So how do you decide, when some of them are not even open yet, that the future looks bleak for them?
I think before we start any thought process to act, a couple of things we need to keep in mind. One is that who are the stakeholders in the business? In our case, it starts from our people who are part of Enrich, the equity stakeholders, people who have invested, including us, in this business. Third would be the product partners and the vendors and the service provider whom we work closely, and they have supported us best possible way in last few years. Fourth is our customers. Now they will decide whether they are going to continue this business, whether their preference is same, they respect the brand, or they are feeling safe in this change environment to continue to coming to us. And the fifth would be...
the fifth was the customers, yeah.
So before we decide on any thought process to take any decisions, and this is the time where we need to take tough decisions, so I would say we need to think through about various stakeholders in the business, starting from our people to our stakeholders and investors, to our vendors, business partners, service providers, our premise owners, right? And of course, our customers. First four have to coexist in a very aligned arrangement, wherein customers will take a call whether they will let us survive, they will let us grow, depending upon their trust, their confidence onto the business. So all of us will be safe only when each of us is safe. So as long as we are able to ensure everyone's interest in the business, no doubt there will be a process where we need to step back to move forward, and there will be damage to all of us in some or other way. But ensure we do this so as to grow further, so as to first survive in this difficult and change environment, and then
right. So, just sort of following on from what you said, that those are the key stakeholders for any business. And how do you sort of find that balance, or how do you prioritize? Of course, safety in today's world is of prime importance, health and safety. But assuming that you're able to surpass that in terms of, ensuring what is in place, and this is in today's context, but of course, that issue could be something different, 5 years from now. But assuming that you're able to get through that, obviously the next big consideration, I'm assuming, is the financial aspect. And again, that involves employees, investors, etc. So how do you, without having the foresight of knowing, what lies ahead in terms of business, how do you actually make that decision today?
One thing we all need to accept, whether we like it or not, is things are not as easy or okay like before, right? So any decision we take is definitely going to affect all of us, right? But we need to take a call wherein we decide that collectively how these things will be able to survive and then grow going forward, and who all have to manage their own. It's like at times, it's like me to we. Collectively, we decide that these are the things we need to manage. But as an individual, it is me who has to find out that how flexible, how adaptable I am there to continue contributing to the business so that, it is more meaningful and I can justify my presence in the business.
But what I'm asking is that, how do you allow, obviously there are, financial considerations. So, in the case of our retail businesses like yours and mine, rent is a big consideration. And say we get through that as well, we understand, we come to some kind of an arrangement and we, feel that, okay, we've crossed that hurdle. How do we make a decision when we don't actually know what the effect on revenues is going to be? And we've already accepted the fact that this is going to not, even when you are allowed to reopen, you're not going to go back to where things were before. But you understand that it might take 6, 9, 12 months to get there. But the idea, when you talk about growth, I think the first thing is obviously to understand that can you actually get to the point that you were at even before you closed, pre sort of COVID or pre-lockdown rather. So if you can even get to that point, if you can see that you can get back to that point, in a certain time frame, and then look at growth beyond that, is that not something that you feel is a viable option?
Let me explain this thought with some example, right? So if you look at our business, almost 1/3 or actually 40% of our revenue is people cost. They are the main engine or the growth driver of the business. And second is the rent. Now, right, both together contribute almost 55-60% of the revenue. Now, we are in a situation where from now, once we reopen, last 3 months have been complete shutdowns. You can understand the kind of losses you would have suffered managing 90 locations and about 2,000 of people team, right? So that is one thing which is going to be a loss, which we need to kind of sunk it for 2-3 months time.
Yeah.
But at the same time, we need to think that how do we look forward? How next 3 months, 6 months, this balanced quarters of the financial year are going to look like? And there, if we don't change the process or the thought process, wherein can I afford fixed people cost? I don't think so business can afford to do. So we are working on a situation where we try to create more flexibility. If business is going down, and we feel that it will be around 20-30% lower initially few months, because there are no reasons for people to go beyond basic hygiene and routine grooming services. There are not going to be more parties or weddings or celebrations or any occasions, right? So the discretionary part of the business is going to be limited, correct? So in this situation, unless we don't move to more flexible model from say fix and incentive, which are like in the ratio of 1:0.5, we make it maybe 0.75 to 0.75, so equal fixed and variable portion of people cost. Second, if we can, and we are in fact working closely with all our rent, our premises owners for rationalizing the rent, right? All these years we have paid our rentals on time. There are great relationships, no issues, no challenges. So this is the time where we need to understand each other's
needs,
concern, and support best possible way. Now that is the step one. So if we are able to rationalize these two big costs, and for us, like, we decide, okay, there's a particular outlet, and this is how going to be the change cost. And with 30% down business, and eventually it will become a little lower, and then will stabilize. Can we survive for next 1 year? There is a particular cost to it.
Right.
Not that we are going to, by reducing this cost, next month we are going to grow. But yeah, if that thing is able to help us contain the losses, right, then we will continue with that outlet.
Right.
But know for sure that in some cases, even after rationalizing these major costs, business is not going to pick up. Now, that is where the challenge comes in. And that is where me as an individual and organization have to take those tough decisions, because whatever we invested into the business in terms of capital, in terms of brand, in terms of resources, is cost that has gone by, right? But if that particular store is likely to suffer losses or incur losses, there won't be any external support available like before to fund that losses, right? So in this situation, we have also identified of 86, 87 salons, maybe at least 7-8 of them are in the situation where even after putting all the efforts, all brain game, all right thing, we feel certainly that it's going to create a challenge. And that is where we need to take a call to move on.
Yeah. No, I mean, I want to sort of draw an analogy to what we went through, which was nothing to do with the COVID or lockdown, but a very similar sort of thought process where, beyond a point, if the business is not generating the kind of revenues that you require, if a restaurant isn't generating those revenues that require you to be able to continue paying your main costs, which in our case as well is rent and manpower, you kind of have to take that hard call, to put a stop to how much you continue to fund that business, whether it's with time, finances, etc. And, either you decide that you shut shop completely, or you rebrand and, or pivot it to something different. And, in our case, obviously, we did do that with our restaurant, Misty, which we ran for about 1.5 years, and then realized that it wasn't generating the revenues that we expected or that we needed it to be financially viable. And, rather than sort of taking an emotional decision of driven entirely by passion, we had to be practical as well. And, but at the same time, we didn't want to completely let go either. And so the decision was taken to rebrand it with a new cuisine. And so sort of coming to that aspect of, in the case of your business, is there a scope for, using the investment that you've already made into a space or people for that matter, and sort of redistributing that resource and investment in your other existing outlets, or maybe creating a new avenue of revenue? So, for example, I don't know if you're already doing home services, but possibly redistributing the manpower into using home services, if that's what people feel more comfortable with, rather than going into a public space.
Okay. So before I answer this question, let me first talk about how have we gone through in last 1 year or so, right?
Okay.
So we were at a full-fledged scaling up program where added in last 2 years you added almost 30 outlets.
Wow.
Renovated from the vintage 55 stores, renovated 50 stores. So as good as we made investment of around out of 86 or 81 salons are either renovated or are new. So think about the situation, the kind of energy and end-to-end conviction you had, or we still have on this business, that it will definitely sustain and grow. In fact, last few outlets, rather last 20 plus outlets, we doubled the space of our regular model, because we want to introduce more product options. We want to introduce a new vertical like makeup services as well as product, because if you understand international markets, these products makeup products contribute almost 50% of the overall revenue. And that's something was not existing in our business model. So we identified an opportunity, started working on it, have made considerable investment in creating a new design of stores and having this vertical added. And suddenly you find one day that this virus has hit us. Initially thought that it will be for a week, maybe 2 weeks, a month, 2 months. But now, as we go along, we realize it has hit more of, it has created a fear than actually what it is all about. It is not dangerous, but it is contagious. And whatever set of actions have happened from government, authorities, from people around, individuals, even including us, somewhere it is there, and we all are suffering or are rather kind of going through that learning. So now we are at a situation where a makeup business in salon with doing demo, is this going to be a little bit questionable thing? Because you are supposed to maintain a safe distance, you are supposed to ensure that there is a touchless process. And when I put down on this point, it looks that this business cannot happen ever, at least for a reasonable point of time. Now, having said that, I don't believe things are going to die or not going to work, or that is the end of it. Most of the investors, partners, any external person will still kind of have a different opinion. My take is that we need to ensure that how do we again align ourselves to the change environment. So what we are doing is we have redefine or kind of reject our business into 6 blocks. First 2 set of blocks is offline and online, right? And as you know, we are largely till date offline, but we need to also have online presence. And when I'm saying online, is not only selling products, is also being able to give customer a choice to book an app. Book an appointment through an app at a convenient time he or she wants to visit,
right.
Wants to create engagement program, loyalty, reward points. So these things where we need to make it more interactive. In fact, we think that in this time, our customers should be able to speak to our technicians as well, right? Because if they are not able to come to the salon, at least it's our responsibility to serve them remotely, help them managing their hair and skin and beauty by giving DIY help.
Tips, yeah.
Then that's something we are doing it successfully. We almost touched 95,000 customers, interaction customers.
So you were doing this during the lockdown as well?
Yes, we are doing it. So that again happened through an online process where our app will have a feature where customers want to talk to technicians, they can talk at any point of time.
And was this happening before lockdown, or is this something that you developed during?
Completely come after lockdown.
Okay.
Right? Otherwise, so business was good, great. 1.5 lakh customers are coming to your outlet, you're happy servicing them, everything was fine, right? But this thing completely changed. That is, so we need to have more focus on the technology and online part of it. Second set of block is services and products. So as you all know, large part of our business happens from services, but we also want to explore more of products. Currently, the distribution is 75 to 25, and that's something we feel that we need to take it up to 50-50 or 60-40, either ways. And product sale is something smart business requires less space. So in terms of revenue per person, per technician, or per professional, revenue per square feet, revenue per store, all factors will be more efficient than ever before if we focus more on contribution coming from product. So that's something we'll take more and more attention and focus going forward. And the third set of the business is salon and home. Now these two verticals always existed. In fact, we acquired a brand about 3 years ago to know and to add this home service option for our customers. I've been able to manage decently, didn't focus much till date, but in today's time, I feel it's more important that we also give this choice more than ever before. Customer who feels safe at salon, and obviously salon environment is equally safe because it's a controlled environment, managers is looking for each and every safety.
But still, people are going to have concerns.
Yeah, so we give choices to the customer. Now, when you talk about these 6 blocks, today we are in a situation, customer is booking a product on app, right? So it's a booking a product and are getting delivery at home, right? So now this combination of online booking of a product and delivery at home didn't exist earlier, but in our new blueprint, it will definitely be there. So all these things have the math or the science of the business has changed, and we are trying to adapt as much possible to the new environment.
Right. So it's not that all is lost in a way. It's just that you are reconfiguring your brain to deal with a new scenario and a new customer demand.
Yeah, and I just want to add one more point to it. Like, I'm so amazed with the fact that by mid of April or so, we got a permission to sell the product, which are part of the essential bucket, like shampoo, conditioner, face wash, and body wash. The kind of enthusiasm our team has exhibited, right? And yeah, when I'm saying about change environment, what I also learned is that my manager or technician today is opening a salon on her own, picking up the product, making the bill, and also ensuring delivery to the customer. Because we say, but then the logistics also is a challenge, right? In today's situation, especially in Bombay, you don't get Swiggies or Domino's of the world picking up on time. So they have taken an ownership on them, talking to customers, understanding the requirement, helping them with whatever services they want to do it. Plus, if customer wants aftercare product, they are ensuring the delivery as well. So even they have changed their mindset. Now, in this situation, they are also contributing equally or even more, which is at least helping us to generate some revenues.
Right.
In the month of May, we almost reached to a 20%, clocking 20% of the revenue, right? Wow. By doing this changed approach.
Yeah. No, I mean, that's the thing. I think it's a matter of being, if again, when I look at our business, delivery and online and, becoming tech savvy is sort of the need of the hour. And, also, I mean, just like you're talking about products, even for us to, what restaurants are looking at doing is creating DIY kits because they're recognizing that people are cooking more at home. So,
Yes.
how can you, instead of fighting that, how can you actually, enhance that experience and try and, generate revenue? But at the same time, if I look at ourselves and, we still live on this hope that, people will want to dine out again, because how much can you just stay at home? And, is this a short-lived sort of, a temporary hiatus from, public appearances that we have to kind of ride through and come out on the other side? And I think that's where also understanding how much you've invested and, how long you can ride through this period is key. Like, can you actually get through enough just to at least pay your bills, even if you're not making money, and then, sort of look towards that growth in revenue over a period of time. But, I mean, I sort of want to come back to this part of where I'm sure you have, your sort of competitors in your industry who are also sort of thinking similarly in terms of, possibly shutting down some of their spaces. Do you not feel that there's also an opportunity in, if you are able to financially ride the wave, or not ride the wave, rather sort of get through this period, there's an opportunity in sort of continuing to stand during this time, because, others may also be taking a similar decision to you to, close their outlets. So, for example, if in a neighborhood you have like 5 salon options and you're down to 2 maybe, for similar reasons that you're talking about, businesses closing, that there might actually be an opportunity for you to stay open.
No. So there is a big opportunity for businesses to consolidate, right? Wherein if we join hands, then at least the back end cost can be optimized, can be more sustainable. But again, that will result into quite a few hard calls, right? Because if you are managing 2 businesses with maybe 10 people each, and when you consolidate, there will be requirement only 15, so 5 have to still go. So in a way, consolidation process is also trying to bring in, and it is advisable only when you're trying to bring in the efficiency in the business model, right? Otherwise, it becomes a tough call.
Right. So, I mean, consolidation is one thing, but I'm saying that even just where your competition kind of, falls off, right? Because they have to close out of necessity as well. But you choose to stay, to retain your space. So you just have less, salons on the same street.
Yeah. The customer will at least come to us or go to somewhere else. I shut down a particular city or a catchment. Obviously, those sort of customers will have to go somewhere. And likewise, it can benefit us as well. So yes, in this environment, there are challenges, there are problems, there are issues, but there are opportunities. And that's why we are kind of thoughtfully tracking this and understanding that, we are aligned to the right side of it. So not want to take harsh calls so easily.
Yeah.
But do not want to delay the process, because then it will add to more losses.
Of course, yeah.
And bring the question mark on the survival of the business.
Yeah. So, I mean, another thing, Vikram, that I want to ask you is that I know you have investors as well. So how much do you involve them in this decision? I mean, is it something that has to be driven by the sort of, as you all as operators and, running the business, managing the business? How much of it are you influenced by your investors in your decisions?
Okay. So my experience and my observation around the industry and some of the other retail businesses is the investor can be of both sides. Those who are supportive, those who are having long-term horizon and want to understand and help you genuinely in the business. And thankfully, we are part of that set of people who are investors have been supporting us in a great manner. At the same time, yeah, there are friends who have got investment from few, wherein it's kind of overreaction to the situation and trying to do some unreasonable
salvage something.
thing. Yeah. But I think more importantly, when you have investor on board, uh, at least what I have learned and I've realized is that you get a different external perspective, right? Because even that person has an interest in growing the business, in sustaining the business. So whatever point of view you get from them is also in interest of business. As long as an entrepreneur, as a promoter or a founder or a management, whatever you call it, you're able to respect and understand that point of view and think through then beyond your track of thought process, it helps greatly. At least I have experienced it very well in last 3-4 months. That so it is actually more important for me to whatever things we decide and then to reflect to them. And one big learning I've also gone through is make it a participative process. As an individual, we have a kind of a personality. We have a kind of a set of things which we have a strong conviction on, right? It works in most of the time. Definitely, it has worked in the past, but in today's situation is quite different. So even if we are not able to change our thought process, there are these set of people who are in a way external party, but they bring in that neutral point of view. And if you make it a little participative, it really helps. Definitely, it really helps. For example, if I wanted to do a reduced payout for the month of April and May, initially I myself was not convinced that why should we do it. But then I'm talking to my team, immediate people in the core team and my other directors. When you get that participative approach, we somewhere get more rational and doable set of actions. And I think that is important. So coming to your point, be it investor or partners or be it people dominant, I think make it a participative process that really helps to manage these difficult times. At least it has helped me.
Sure. No, I mean, that's a very important thing, that to the extent possible to make it an inclusive process so that everyone feels that they had, they came to the conclusion together rather than that it was imposed on them, I think is...
Otherwise, like if you see anything which is has a consumer touch, any consumer business, retail business, restaurant, services, any model, today everybody is trashed, right? So nobody is kind of lucky enough to do something or another, right?
Yeah.
So everything else has got equal and kind of to the has to start from the scratch level, right? So in this situation, if you're able to get a good view which you never thought of, can definitely help us to take right decisions for sure.
Yeah. So I don't know if you've already spoken to your employees about the outlets that you're looking to close, but if you have, what was the reaction and how? I mean, of course, everyone's aware of what's going on, so it's not necessarily going to come as a big shock, but it's still, when you actually have to hear it, it's never a good feeling. So, have you spoken to them, and how how have you been dealing with employees in general?
Okay. First is in today's time, especially businesses like ours, which are largely people-driven, right? There are assets, there are means and ways of being in the business. So communication is the most important key success factor. And communication is not all about talking good or giving praise and reward and this, that. Communication has to be honest and straight and clear without any hidden agenda. So in our case, the entire thing started from second week of March. Since then, we've been releasing a daily video, which reaches to all 2,000 people in the organization. It's about 90 seconds to 120 seconds video, where we talk about an important thing which they need to know about Enrich, about them, about situation. around, not reporting COVID numbers, and all. That's something they can definitely get from thing. But how this situation is impacting us. So I think that really helped us. People are on same page. Following which we did a survey of everybody's well-being. Anyone wanted help, assistance, some quick fixing that were done, and then since then they are aligned. We have also utilized this time to train them, to kind of reskill some of these people who can be in a better job or a different job, because the situation is also going to make quite a few roles and positions and redundant.
Yeah.
Right.
But then also nobody's hiring right now, to be fair. So it is a challenge. Yeah.
So that's something which we managed when we did a first payout of. So March we paid full. For April, when we did the reduced payout, we did a webinar where almost 2,000 plus people attended out of 2,200. And all of them understood the process. And then let me confess this, let me share this, that even we are managing this entire thing and doing with it, we've almost had spent our equity in expanding and scaling up the business. So currently, whatever we are doing it is through our debt exposure. So they also realize that, this is kind of a money which has to be repaid in future, but still organization is taking care of them. So being candid and open and clear has really helped us. So April we managed. Even for me, we have done. Maybe we have tweaked a few things where we suppose if you are productive, if you are engaged, so if you are doing your training on time, if you are filling up the survey, if you are doing the certification which is required for this new safety norms, if you are engaged in calling customers and giving your input, you could get rewarded more. Versus someone who's not doing it may get rewarded less. So if you see last 8 weeks, the learning is people are becoming more and more accountable. We need to kind of guide them in the right direction. Thankfully, we weren't in a situation where we are running with excess set of people, even to manage the current businesses, right? Because we track their resource utilization quite closely. So not that I'm suddenly finding 1/4 of the population access in the system, especially in our corporate team. But yes, when we take a call of shutting down or resizing some of these stores, that will create some access, right? And how we are going to plan this is we continue, in spite of this disturbed environment, we continued our performance assessment feedback process, which is for April and March. In the process, there are people who are doing really great. There are people who are doing up to expectation, but there are a set of people who are not able to manage or live up to the expectations as a business, right? And that process to counsel out continues. Even we were held back, but once we reopen, we'll definitely continue as a part of business. Now that is irrespective of what you have. Yes, even last year we did the same. So we give them enough time, and then retrain them. If they are able to move to a different role, we help them. But end of the day, if we are not finding it right, we need to part ways. So I think we'll not have huge shift of thing. So maybe 8 or 10% of our population will have to be realigned. Right? And then that's something we need to definitely take a call on. We are yet to have a formal discussion on this because it's still working process that because taking a call on shutting down a particular outlet also has quite a few dependencies, right? First of all, how much are we able to save? What is the opportunity? Exactly. Is the premise owner helping us sailing through this difficult time? Are we seeing an opportunity that customers will definitely continue coming in? Now, there are quite a few ifs and buts. So, but once we go through, and I feel that next 1 month or so, we'll find out. And why we want to take it a little carefully for the fact that Mumbai, right, we have 55 outlets. Now, if I've identified 5 of them to shut down, I would understand that how, once we open, how the people are or the customers are reacting to the situation. It's very easy to hand over key and then shut down, right? You get your deposit back, but the capex what you've invested.
Exactly.
So it's a it's a call of how much you invested, what is the current situation, what potential do you see, and if that losses what we are going to incur in next 1 year or so are going to be greater than the capital investment what we have done, or for us to kind of do it new in future, if it doesn't rotate, shut down. Because same amount what we are going to save in next 1 year, we can open a new outlet a year later.
Sure.
If we feel no, this investment is considerable and we need to manage it, and this difficult time we need to go through, and in addition to it, if customers are actually coming and trying, things are getting normalized slowly, then will not be a problem. One of the learning what we got, because Bangalore and Ahmedabad, Surat and Vadodara will be opening on 8th, but these three cities, almost 18 salons have reopened. And as expected, first 7, 8, 10 days were high in terms of revenue, because customer
everyone's come for their haircuts.
And I'm a strong believer that in today's time, people are missing some 4 or 5 things, right? One is entertainment, Netflix is taking care of it. Second is food, eating out. Somewhere people are also becoming chef, and you are also deliver same great food and taste and everything at home to get the solution. People are working, people are missing workplace, right? Everybody is now feeling that bahut ho gaya, like we are working.
A change of scene, yeah.
Change, but somewhere we have adapted that change compulsion. Fourth is the shopping, which definitely will come back once we do. But I think, and maybe you can say this is a little biased or very heavy opinionated thought, is that people are missing the grooming and self
vanity
much more than anything before, right? People even refuse to come to Zoom and be video on because I don't want to show my green line. So if you, even when we did a survey, this came up so kind of strongly that they're missing the personal grooming, so they need to find a solution. So that's something, a great hope. So coming to my point, first 8 days have been good, decent, right? Not depressing. But I think getting an opinion in just 1 week or 10 days trend may not be good enough. We need to see it for a month or so. So even when we decide to do a shutdown, we'll have to observe things for 1 or 2 months, because if you have made this much loss, maybe a little more, and then observe. But then once you decide, don't look back. And
that's the difficult thing though, because sometimes you get a little bump and then you feel like, oh, actually, wait, I don't have to do this. And then, we've been through that with the restaurant, right? Because we have a season in like November, December, Jan, and you see this bump and then you're like, oh, actually, can I ride this through? And, are we looking at something? But it's a false hope in a way. So
I recollect my conversation with one of my ex-bosses where he was saying, you are walking on the bridge, right? If you want to really move forward, be it right or wrong, you need to on the bridge. Do not keep any possibility where you can come back. More often than ever, you actually go back and you say, I'm fine. You've never been able to cross the bridge if you keep that thing on. But if you burn it, if you cut it down, if you shut it, then only thing a choice left is just move forward. So it's a situation of burning the bridge. Once you decide, do not think through. And I don't think so any of us can take all calls right. But as long as 7 out of 10, 6 out of 10, 8 out of 10 are right, then I think we are successful in taking those calls.
I think that's the important, that's the key takeaway for me as well, like being through what we have, that, there's no necessarily a right answer when you're taking that decision, and you have to take your best, you use your best judgment and accept it, and be sort of happy with it or content with it. And whatever happens, going forward, I mean, that's part of the ride in a way. So, sometimes, yes, the benefit of hindsight is always there. But I think the important thing is that whatever decision you take at the time, to really, accept it and move forward. Yeah.
Even in our conversation, I realized that, I'm still kind of keeping my hopes alive and I want to continue and live up to it and stuff like that. So I'm not living to the right spirit of
what you were saying.
But I think one is that my feeling, this is more of a situation where collectively as an organization, we need to take a few calls and start actioning on it.
Yeah. Listen, Vikram, this has been truly insightful. I could go on picking your brains for the next few hours, but I think that, this has given me and I hope, everyone listening a lot of insight into, how to think about this process, which can be unpleasant, but I think you can think about it positively as well, and you can make something positive come out of it. So that's the approach to take. And thank you so much again for being on this. And if you have any sort of last thoughts or learnings that you want to share, I mean, you've shared a lot along the way, but if there's anything else that you want to add, about the way forward and how you're thinking about what lies ahead.
Okay. I think 3 words are important for me. One is that act in the change environment. Get yourself right there. We all need to justify our existence there. Second is react. When I mean react is if people are giving you some insightful inputs, react to it positively and think through and decide your course of action based on that. And third, which is very important, is do not overreact. After being into lockdown for almost 10 weeks now, right? I feel more often than anything, we all have overreacted to the situation. It has taken away our mind completely. But I think thankfully, last couple of weeks, things are moving. Now we are talking about more precaution than something else. And this virus is, again, I'm repeating, contagious and not dangerous. So we need to keep our guards on so that we can pass by through. So in anything and everything we do, let's not overreact.
Great. Yes, I completely agree with you, and thank you for those pearls. I hope you enjoyed tuning in today, and if you like this show, don't forget to check out other interesting podcasts on the IVM Podcast Network. You can listen to us on the IVM Podcast app or website or wherever else you get your podcasts from. You can also follow us on social media. We're at IVM Podcasts on Twitter and Instagram. And if you want to reach out to me, I'm at gdevidyal on Instagram and at Gauri Details on Twitter.
I hope you enjoyed that show. If you aren't following us on social media, please do. We're IVM Podcasts on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. I wanted to kind of just give a quick reminder to everybody. As I mentioned up top, we are doing our annual listener survey right now. If you could please go and take a couple of minutes out of your day and fill it out, we would really, really appreciate it. It's ivmpodcast.com/survey. If you're comfortable giving us your email address, we'll enter you into a random drawing, and we're going to be sending out swag to a bunch of randomly selected listeners. So do definitely get on board that train. Let me tell you a little bit about what we did on the network this week. We launched a new show called Zindagi Diaries with Ragini Kumar. Many of you might have seen Ragini on television during the IPL. She's a presenter, but she's showing a different side of herself over here with a poetry podcast. Give it a shot, give it a listen. Let me know what you all think. Vishal Gondal is back this week after a while. He's been on an extended break, but he has Rahul Narvekar for the first episode. Really interesting conversation. Do check it out. Raji Samant joins Gauri Devidayal on This Round Is On Me. The two talk about the wine business and what's going on there. We had a number of conversations about the Farmers Bill and the surrounding agitation this week on the network as well. Maruk Inayat had a great episode on the note. Puliabazi did a deep dive into the issues around this. And on Siders, we have our typical, fun conversation about this stuff with a little bit of a seriousness, a little bit of fun. Do check that out on Cock and Bull on Thursday last week. Akash Mehta joined us for that episode. And with that, I hope to see you again next week.
What are some of the radical changes that are now shaping our workspace? With physical distancing and heightened safety protocols being the norm, will technology finally make its large-scale entry to the workspace? Will design as we know it change for the long term? Is it possible for the Indian commercial real estate space to adopt a 360-degree approach to sustainability? Join our hosts at the Future of Space podcast by RMZ as we deliberate with industry leaders, analysts, and bright young minds on the way forward for the workspace given the new COVID normal. Tune in to the IVM Podcasts app or wherever you stream your favorite podcasts